This is Malaya. Let me be your guide now.
Hello everyone. Today I have a great pleasure to speak with Nina. And Nina, she is a speaker and relationship and sexuality coach. So Nina, good morning from Tokyo, good afternoon in the US. Thank you very much for joining our community. So I'm very curious about you and your story. So can you please let us know a little bit more about yourself and how you become who are you today?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me all the way from Tokyo. I'm here in Connecticut. So my mission, my message is really so much about the power of being authentic and vulnerable, even when it's scary and filled with shame and embarrassing, all of that. I don't believe humans can truly connect unless they're vulnerable. And I think that's what we're missing so much of, especially in the world of social media, where everybody puts everything that's perfect on there. And you're really kind of driving people away because I don't think people are looking for perfection. We're looking for connection. And so I got to where I am today because of where I've been and what I've been through, which I was born with OCD, so obsessive compulsive disorder. And whenever I say that, everyone thinks, your house must be so clean. It's not. I have 2 kids. It's not clean. I wasn't blessed with that compulsion, unfortunately. But the hardest part really for me, for the better part of 3 decades, was the intrusive thoughts, the thoughts that were filled with shame, thoughts I couldn't control. I didn't like them. They weren't fun. I felt guilty. And it made me truly feel separated from the rest of the world. I thought I was so different merely for having these thoughts. And so I really hated my own mind, really. And it's a tough place to be. And so as I got older, I'm 39 now. And as I would say, maybe the last 5 or 6 years, I don't know what caused it. Maybe I just got tired, but I started letting out in my own way, which is usually sarcasm, self-deprecating humor. I'm just kind of I'm raw and unfiltered. On social media, I would, whether it was a meme or whether it was just a funny post, and I started getting these interactions that were so real. And I was realizing that, wait a minute, I just put myself out there making a joke about some weird quirk that I have. And a bunch of people were saying they either have it too, or they think it's funny. And I was realizing, you know what? What I thought was my worst trait my whole life is now serving as the reason why I'm able to relate to so many people on so many levels. Whether I've experienced what they've been through or not doesn't matter. I've felt shame. I've felt guilt. I've felt different. I've felt all of those things. And on the outside, seemingly I was very normal, had a very normal life, very healthy relationships. But having OCD really is kind of like you're living in your own hell and nobody really knows. And so now I actually use humor to shine the light on our most vulnerable sides. And it tends to be around sex, relationships, and mental health. Those 3 things people seem the most uncomfortable with. And so what I do is I always believe shame and guilt, they only live in the dark. So if you shine the light on it, it can't live there anymore. So, and I've done that for myself. So now I show other people how to do that. And I feel like because I've shown up for myself, it gives permission for other people to show up for themselves as well. So that's where I am.
I'm curious also, like you said, you felt the shame and you felt like uncomfortable in your skin, like in your inner hell, as you said. What inspired you? How did you find that courage? Because many people ask me, and many women ask me, Ed, I really want to talk in front of the people and share my story, but then I stuck, and then the old feeling come back to me. So how did you overcome that fear?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I probably would have asked myself the same thing. I think baby steps is the best way I can explain it. So in the past, I was involved in network marketing. And one of the biggest pieces of that is branding yourself on social media in a way that really reflects who you are as a person. And I remember being so stuck, like how I kind of don't want people to know who I really am. I know how I want people to perceive me. That's easy.
Mhm.
But I wasn't sure if I really wanted to go that deep. And a mentor of mine said, just start small, like start with the things that you enjoy that aren't scary. And humor is a big one. I'm very hard to offend, and humor is a big one. So I started posting funny things. And my humor can be, like I said, sarcastic, sometimes dark, but harmless. And I started seeing some of, my people show up and get more interaction. And then it was a progression of, it's like building a muscle. Once you realize you put it out there and it wasn't so scary, then you put a little bit more out there and a little bit more out there, and that just keeps building confidence. Are there times where I'm sure people are like, I can't believe Nina just said that out loud? Oh, I'm sure for sure. But over the years, this confidence that I've built up doesn't mean I don't get upset, but I don't stay there. Of course, if we're human, we don't want to feel rejected or judged, right? I mean, but I think what I've done is kind of went, all right, look, that's their story that they're living through, not mine. And I don't have to read it if I don't want to, metaphorically speaking. So I think it's very small steps. And yeah, it can be scary. It can be, but I feel like transformation is scary. It is. But the liberation and the empowerment is worth every nail biting post that I hit post on or send or and now I've branded myself as, like my tagline is, unfiltered, imperfect, and unashamed. And that's really who I am. And yeah, I'm sure there are people that unfollow me or block me or, oh my gosh, she has kids. I can't believe she's, talking about sex. I'm like, how do you think my kids got here? But so I think that's my advice would really just small steps, stay true to yourself and go at whatever pace is comfortable for you, knowing that you're going to get knocked down. You're going to get judged. But I think the slow steps was big for me.
You have your specialty. I also want to know, like, what kind of transformation people actually can have once when they found the person who they want to work with in terms of the relationship, in terms of sexuality. So how that, let's say, pain can disappear? What kind of process they need to take? And maybe you can share some of your experience working with your clients. And also, what is the benefits once when you have a healthy sexuality, healthy relationship, and good mental health?
Personally, it feels like the weight, there's enough that happens in life that you can't control, right? And it can be very difficult. But feeling trapped in your own body and in your own mind is the most exhausting feeling. And when you feel that way and you're not able to give yourself 100% to anyone or anything, there will never be a soul fulfilling feeling ever. And I really believe we all deserve that. I've never really liked a traditional job. I've been a teacher. I've worked at call centers. I was the director of a nonprofit. All of these, traditional, I'm an employee, I have an employer. And every 2 years I would quit. And I didn't ever like it. And my poor husband is like, really? Again? But it really was, I didn't feel, I think I was just kind of going through the motions of being alive. And that wasn't good enough for me. So really the feeling of being able to experience life as a soulful being is very different than experiencing life through what you think other people want to see. It's tiring and it'll beat you down. for me, it was just this weight lifted, and I was able to be much more authentic and honest with my husband, and a much more authentic and honest mom. And then that blew up my actual career. I was like, you know what? I am not meant for the inside the box career. I'm just not. And I know it's not going to be easy to build my own, but that's where I'm going. And so it was as if you're in a cage and you finally figure out that you had the key the whole time. That's kind of that realization, like, what? I've been sitting in here with the bars rusting, looking, going, I just want to be out there. And then one day you're like, shit, I have it. That's what it feels like. And so for me to be able to deliver that message to people who, when they walk out of a room, go, what? It was just here. That's what I want. I had a woman recently say to me, she was telling me a very, very, very personal mental health thing that she struggled with. She struggles with something called Trichotillomania, which is hair pulling. You pull your hair out anywhere on your body, eyebrows, eyelashes, head, pubic region, all of it. And she told me that she had it, and she goes, have you ever heard of it? I said, yeah, I've heard of it. Yeah, I mean, we all have something. That's your thing. All right, who cares? And she said, yeah, but like, I pull out hair all over my body, like even and I said, yeah, so, and she looks at me, and we're in the car together, and she looks at me, and I said, what's the matter? She's like, I've never said that out loud to anyone. And I kind of sat there like, well, how does it feel? She said, I'm not sure yet. I actually had to think about this. And I could tell that it was almost like this, like her darkest secret was just exposed, and I wasn't impressed. Like, whatever, who cares? Whatever. And it was like, I'm okay. Yes, we're all quirky. We all have weird things. The problem is we think that we're not supposed to. That's the problem. I think if more people understood how we actually are really supposed to be complex and ornate and eccentric and really strange, I think people would not feel so isolated. And so I really am that person that, because I've probably thought about it myself, I'm a non-alarmist. I mean, there's really the stuff that I hear on a daily basis would scare a would scare a very strong person. But it just, nothing phases me. And I think that response is so powerful. The lack of reaction is actually really, really powerful, that you can tell someone your deepest, darkest secret, and their response is like, that's all you got? Like, really? It was almost like, and I think I just want to be that person to as many people as possible, so that when they leave my presence, they walk away going, I'm not broken. No matter how different I am, like there is no normal. And so and then to feel that and get out of that cage, all of a sudden you see your whole life differently. You see your relationships and the opportunities within them differently. You see your career opportunities differently. You see your sexuality. Like, if I don't have to feel guilt and shame over that fantasy that I have, or the porn that I just watched, or all of the amazing things I can do with that, is really powerful. And so I look at myself as someone who's really just kind of like a flashlight to shine on guilt and shame, and then they can't survive anymore. And then that kind of unleashes whatever is inside of you, and you look at everything completely differently than you did while you were in that little cage. The world looks pretty small when you're in there. So that's really how that transformation piece happens. It's once you're allowed to let what really actually lights you up, let that go. You can't let that go if you're in a cage. You can let your soul out, but it's still in that little space. So being able to accept who you are and all that comes with, is beyond transformative on every level.
And Nina, as you said, we all have that key, and we all have that prison. Some have just one room, some maybe have one city, some have my region, but they are still in the prison. So
yeah,
once when you open that door, and then there is a huge ocean of emotions and of many different opportunities. So I want to ask you, because obviously you have a gift and you found the way how to escape from the prison, and you are using humor. So I'm going to use some metaphor here. Like, do you think the humor is coming from the heaven, or do you think fear is coming from the hell? And how we can manage those two, and how we actually can be authentic, as you said, and at the same time accept everything what we did in the past and everything who we are right now. And then when we are sharing that, actually that fear or bad feeling will just disappear. So how actually we can also don't judge ourselves so strictly, or how we can don't be so serious about everything what we are doing. I think that's one of the most common issue. People are so serious, they think their problem is the biggest problem ever, but actually it's not. So what is the recipe to actually invite that humor in your life, or to invite that key in your life and start to explore the new opportunities?
I think one of the most powerful things is really who you surround yourself with. I can't say that enough. I think being an entrepreneur and surrounding myself with free thinkers and people who think outside the box, and it's very much, it's that strength in numbers feeling, like, wait a minute, they're doing it, like, why I can do it. And the other piece is too, let your authenticity be your filter, right? So if you're authentic and true to who you are, taking those baby steps, and it does take time, you will start to only attract people who can't wait to see the outside of the cage version of you, right? They love it. They welcome it because they're probably struggling it with themselves. I love that the people in my life, we joke about being the island of the misfits, and I love it. There is nothing better to me. I always say normal people scare me. Like, what are you hiding? Like, what are you, like, what's going on there? So to me, like, show me you're crazy. Show me your broken pieces. That's how I'm going to connect with you. Don't come around me and tell me that your marriage is perfect and everything's perfect and life is perfect and it isn't. And if it is, I don't know what you're taking, but like, pass it over. So I think it's very much who you surround yourself with, and that process of being who you are allows other people to see the light that you're shining. Go, oh, wait, I want that. I want to be around that. But if you don't have that light on, no one's going to find you. So I always say, like, let your own authenticity be what helps you filter out people that don't belong in your life. Are there going to be people that slip past the cracks? Of course. And especially with social media, you're going to have the trolls, you're going to have the hate comments that, that's the internet. But there's a block button, and a delete button for a reason. Do that in your life as well. Even as an adult. And I tell my kids this too, if they're having trouble in school with friends or bullies, I always ask them, are they contributing to your process of want to be or not? Are they accepting you and growing with you and allowing you to grow yourself, even though it might look different than the way they're growing? If yes, keep them around. Those are your people. If not, get the hell out. I have no time, and I think as I get older, I'm realizing that sense of urgency. I mean, not to sound like morbid, but we're not going to live forever. So, and I've already known that I've wasted the majority of my life up to this point. So on being in that cage. So I definitely personally have a larger sense of urgency, like, oops, I just wasted about 30 years. I got to move fast. And I think that was also a driving force for me to stop playing small, stop with the BS, just let it all out. It's going to make people feel uncomfortable, and that's okay. Some people feel uncomfortable and still want to be around me because I'm helping them get more comfortable with being uncomfortable. And other people that are uncomfortable with talking about sex or mental illness, they're running, and that's okay. Peace. It's okay. And so I really just that the more those baby steps that you take and the more authentic you are, you will attract people that will continue to encourage and support that authentic process, which is like a lifelong process. I'm assuming that it will never end because we're constantly changing, depending on what we experience and the relationships that we have. So just really getting used to the skill of, I always say you don't always have to love yourself. That I think is a message that we hear all the time. That's not realistic. I don't love myself all the time. I don't love my body all the time at all. I accept it though.
Mm-hmm.
I accept my body and all of the damage that my children did to it. I accept that I was born with wiring in my brain that caused some pretty shitty times. I didn't love it, but I accept it. So I think the whole self-love and love yourself no matter what, there's a caveat there. You're not always going to love yourself, but accepting yourself in the process is crucial. And that's another thing that I talk about is I'm not asking you to be better. I'm not asking you to be bigger. I'm not asking you to be richer. I'm not asking you nothing. You can't do that until you learn to accept where you're at right now. And I think being an entrepreneur, you're kind of bombarded. You probably have been too, bombarded with how to grow a bigger business and how to make 7 figures and how to be a better this and a better that and a bigger this. And I'm going, but wait a minute, like, I'm not even okay with me at this level. Like, I can't get there yet. Sure. So I really meet people where they are. And it's not about changing. It's really about accepting. Otherwise you're going to keep trying to change and you're going to keep getting pulled back into that.
Yeah, you are sending the message that something is not okay with you, and then it's very difficult to actually have any improvement because you are not
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So Nina, you have a definitely talent, and you inspire me during this short conversation. But like, what is your plan for this year and for the future? How do you see yourself? You can share your message even to the broader audience.
I'm working on a couple different conferences right now. One, I'm thinking in May. I'm being on a panel, speaking on a panel. And one, I'm in conversation with someone for August. And really it's about, my favorite truly is being on a speaker panel or a keynote or speaking to a larger audience. It doesn't have to be a large audience, but just as opposed to one-on-one coaching. And just to get a hold of me, I mean, you can, social media, on Facebook, Nina Unfiltered or Real Talk with Nina. Instagram is Real Talk with Nina. My website is realtalkwithnina.com. So there's a pattern there. Everything is Real Talk with Nina. You'll find me on YouTube. There's a couple, I've been a guest on a couple podcasts where we just kind of go back and forth about sex and relationships. And, so really, being a panel member or a speaker, a keynote, or one of the whatever speakers you have, just really getting that message out there. And I think the message itself can be delivered to any audience. I mean, we're all human. So whether that helps people to grow in their professional life or their personal life, whatever it is. But my focus really is more so on relationships, sexuality, and mental health. So,
and you guys who are watching this video, Nina is helping not only women, men as well. So for all of you who are inspired with this video, who might think Nina might be a good speaker for your group of people who you know or for your community online or offline, please reach out to Nina directly. You will see in this YouTube video and also on the Facebook and all other platforms Nina contact. So we all need Nina. That's my message. We all need Nina. Nina, thank you so much for this beautiful storytelling, for sharing your openly the problems you had and how you overcome those problems and how you can actually help other people to solve their problems. And that's why we are here to support each other. And I think it's very, very important and key to find that key. You found it, so I'm very happy for you. And I also invite other people to find that key as well, because this place will be much better for all of us. Thank you, Nina.
Thank you so much, Ed.